Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the PFN Dallas Cowboys podcast. And yes, your eyes do not deceive you. I am alone today. You only have the analysis of one Dalton B. Miller to lean on after the atrocious game that we all witnessed against San Francisco 49ers on Sunday Night Football. There was a ton of talk leading up to the San Francisco 49ers game, and it all fell flat on the pitch Sunday night. Unfortunately, a scheduling conflict arose, and I was unable to link up with Jess for this podcast. But do not worry, I will have the in-depth analysis of the game because I put myself through the Dallas Cowboys all 22 of the San Francisco 49ers game, and that is what happened to my eye right here. The film actually came off of my monitor and punched me in the face as I was watching it. At least that's how it felt. No, I have eczema, but the offense is just not where it needs to be at. Schematically, there are issues that against lesser opponents, against teams that aren't going to give the same sort of problems that the San Francisco 49ers bring defensively, you can get away with. You're not going to be able to get away with that against the 49ers. And while I do believe trying to attack the edges of the 49ers defense is probably the best game plan because of who they have in the middle of the field, I just don't like what I'm seeing schematically from the Dallas Cowboys offense, but we will get into that. We will get into the matchup, the revenge game for Kellen Moore coming up here. And it is time for my hot or not. Now, Jerry Jones gave a vote of confidence with Dak Prescott. Hey, I believe he is good enough to win a Super Bowl with the Dallas Cowboys. I'm sorry, but I don't. And it doesn't really have all that much to do with Dak Prescott. I believe Dak Prescott could go to a different situation, stay at the San Francisco 49ers, and win a Super Bowl with that franchise. I think that he could possibly win a Super Bowl with the Miami Dolphins with Mike McDaniel. I think that there are other situations where he could go and have success. I'm a 31-year-old who has covered the Cowboys and have watched the Cowboys my entire life. This is what they are. They do just enough to get us going, and then they fall flat on their face. They are not a team that is built to actually win. And honestly, I don't know the answer. I don't know what the fix is. I don't think there necessarily is a fix. Listen, it is really, really difficult to win a Super Bowl. Only one team does it every year. And for the past 15 years, it seems like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, or Ben Roethlisberger are the only guys winning Super Bowls. Those three. And Eli Manning, fell into two of them. Other than that, it's the random guy here or there. It's the Joe Flaccos of the world that have won Super Bowls. Nick Foles, a backup quarterback, won a Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles are another organization that I think Dak Prescott could go to and win a Super Bowl. Do I think that team in Detroit is better with Dak Prescott? Yes, I do. I think Jared Goff is performing very well for them. I think Dak Prescott could take that offense to the next level, and that defense is playing well, and they might go on and win a Super Bowl. I just don't think the Cowboys are a serious enough franchise on the football field to win a Super Bowl. And that might just be the jaded fan in me, but that's how I feel. Now, that is my hot or not. Malarkey on what Jerry Jones said today. Usually this is when we would do injury updates, but I'm not going to give injury updates. We need to talk about this game. The inability, and it's not just this game, it's been all year. Dak Prescott, where has he been best over the past couple of years? Yes, he threw 15 interceptions last year in 12 games. He led the NFL. Some of them were not his fault. Some of them were his fault. Some of them were miscommunications with wide receivers. Where has Dak Prescott been at his best over the past couple of years? Intermediate levels of the field over the middle. He is an assassin over the middle of the field. And the Dallas Cowboys in their Texas Coast offense are completely ignoring the middle of the field because they're afraid that he might throw an interception. You know what's worse than throwing an interception is not throwing the ball past 5 yards downfield on the outside. And then when you do throw it 5 yards past the line downfield, It's along the sideline to Michael Gallup, who is not getting any separation from a cornerback. When you have Brandon Cooks on your football team, a guy who runs a 4-3, a guy who is a fantastic downfield receiver, you're just not using him whatsoever. And I know that there's a lot of talk about CeeDee Lamb and disappearing in these big games or whatever. Listen, the 49ers did a very, very good job of taking CeeDee Lamb out of this game overall. Every time he was in the slot, it seemed like there was some sort of bracket going on with him. They were not going to allow Dak Prescott in this offense to force feed the ball to CeeDee Lamb. And they have the guys in coverage that can do it. They have the defensive line that is able to get to Dak Prescott in a hurry. When you have guys like Javon Hargrave and Nick Bosa and so many guys, Eric Armstead, who can get to the quarterback at a high level, it's really difficult. And you know, outside of just the offensive structure not looking good, Dak didn't look good in this game. I thought that he missed a couple of throws early on. It just looks like, especially early in the games, and we've seen this issue with Dak Prescott a lot, is early in games, it seems like he has to work himself into it and get, you know, kind of into the flow of the game and get his juices down a little bit, get a little bit more even keeled. The flag throw on the first drive, I believe it was second down. I think it was the second play of the game. Play action. He had it. He just elevated it a little bit too much, and the tight end wasn't able to get it. These are the types of misses that you just can't have against a team like the San Francisco 49ers. The issue is a little bit of Dak and, you know, not being able to be aggressive enough. A little bit of it is the offensive line, you know, not doing a great job against the San Francisco 49ers defensive line. And a lot of it is the offensive scheme. And I understand if fans want to be really upset with us continuously bashing the scheme, but there are flaws in each of them. There were flaws with Linehan. I loved Kellen, but there were flaws in Kellen's offense. The biggest one that I thought that there always was the lack of attention to detail from wide receivers, from protections. There was just a lack of detail. And I'm still seeing that in Mike McCarthy's offense. That's something that I thought was going to get fixed. I thought that the Dallas Cowboys were going to be able to finally figure out how to run a rub route correctly. They still can't do that. They cannot set themselves up for the easy completions. They're still making things hard on themselves, and it's just really tough to see when an offense remains static and is on the same football field as the San Francisco 49ers, who are using motion to its absolute fullest. The defense is a problem. The defense is insanely talented. And early in the year, we saw Marquise Bell, Wanye Thomas play at a really high level without Dono and sometimes without Jaron Kearse. Number one is a little bit of a problem for you right now. And so is number 6. But number 1 is really a problem for you right now. The irresponsibility against the run has been tough. He is supposed to be the tight end eraser. He was anything but. And it's still really hard to play zone coverage when Jaron Kearse is out on the field. He's just not a guy who you want to be sitting back in coverage trying to see what's happening in front of him. That is not his strength. His strength is keeping with guys one-on-one, so the Cowboys run a ton of cover 1. But you can't really run cover 1 against the San Francisco 49ers. You also can't line up off sides. That seems pretty simple to me. But it happened, and we have to get over it. I think Jonathan Hankins has been outstanding still. I think that it is incredibly difficult for the second-level defenders to play against the San Francisco 49ers. I think LVE and Damone Clark were caught with their pants down quite a bit in play action and in motion when they were running the football, the San Francisco 49ers. And I really think that without LVE, his defense is in a real tough spot, because he's the guy who, even with all of the motions and shifts going on in San Francisco, LVE is the guy with the green dot. LVE is the guy trying to get everybody into the correct place. Damone Clark, don't think he's ready for that. I don't think that he's ready to just be out there on the field and competing down in and down out. And this is what happens when you are light at linebacker. You're just going to have issues at the second level from here on out. And you really, now more than ever, want to be able to lean on your safeties, and your safeties forgot how to play football over the past couple of weeks. I said I didn't think that Dono was ready to get back on the field after his injury. He still doesn't look ready to be back on the field. I think that you need to get Bell and Wanye Thomas back on the football field a little bit more and just work these guys in situationally, get them back up to speed, figure some sort of rotation out that works for you, get into the right looks. I think that they'll be okay in the long run if LVE is able to return. This defense is not going to be that top 3, top 5 unit without him on the football field. It's just not going to be possible. So we have issues. The Dallas Cowboys, that is. And the Dallas Cowboys are going up against their former offensive coordinator. That is Kellen Moore and the Chargers, who come up next. And I'm just going to bring up very quickly an interesting stat or two about the Dallas Cowboys and about the LA Chargers right now. The Chargers right now on offense, and you guys have to know where I am going here. In the red zone, the Los Angeles Chargers are scoring touchdowns on 68.75% of their red zone trips. That is good for 5th in the NFL. The Dallas Cowboys are not. They are scoring touchdowns on 36.84% of their red zone trips. That is 28th in the NFL. Now, the Cowboys are still fantastic on third down. That's part of the good from Dak Prescott. He is fantastic on third downs. This team has been terrible in the red zone. They have not been able to figure it out. They are not playing to Dak Prescott's strengths. And in the red zone especially, I think when the field condenses like that, the middle of the field can be very important because you're able to slice throws in there. We've seen that a lot with Dak Prescott. You have to be able to use your tight ends and things of that nature. The one thing that you really can't do, especially with Dak Prescott, and it's just because it's not a strength of his, are back shoulder fades and red zone fades. Those aren't the types of throws that Dak Prescott really excels at. And I've seen way too many red zone fades from this football team who doesn't have that 1v1 alpha on the outside to actually go up and get those passes. So there's a bunch of issues with the Cowboys. Meanwhile, the Chargers are ranked very high. Like I said, 5th in the red zone right now. And when we just look at them from an offensive perspective as a whole with Justin Herbert, and I think not great weapons, especially without Mike Williams on the field, the Chargers are right now currently 5th in offensive EPA. They are 6th in overall success rate. They are 5th in dropback EPA. They are 5th in dropback success rate. They are 12th in rushing EPA, and they are 12th in rushing success rate. This is an offense that has been unexplosive for years now, and it's an offense that looks much improved with Kellen Moore. Now, there are a couple of matchups that I do want to watch in this game. I think Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn is the big one. I think that they are both wizards at what they do. And I think that cat and mouse game is going to be very fun to watch. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to what we want to see is this Cowboys offense have a little bit of success against a defense that they should absolutely be able to find success against. Now, when you look at what the Chargers are defensively, Brandon Staley, it's supposed to be that too high, quarters-based defense that takes away the big play. Well, the Cowboys aren't even really looking to get the big play right now. So you need to be able to work off of efficiency. Well, the Chargers are 25th right now in EPA per play defensively, and they also rank 28th in success rate. You should have success against them. Now, I say that, but the Arizona Cardinals are dead last in success rate, and the Dallas Cowboys offense did not have a very good day against the Arizona Cardinals defense. But where you really should have an advantage is in the passing attack, because the Chargers still have not found a way to defend against the run in the Brandon Staley era. So I'm looking at this offensive line to dominate this football game against the Chargers in the run game. And I think that they really need to do it in the run game, because we just watched Khalil Mack have like 75 sacks in a single game. And that takes us back to Arizona. Takes us back to Atlanta in 2017 with Adrian Claiborne. And listen, Terrence Steele is a very good player, but Terrence Steele had issues on the right side of that offensive line with Nick Bosa, and everybody's going to have issues with Nick Bosa. But you need to be able to win that matchup, and being able to win that matchup can also entail play action, motions to have him freeze a little bit. I know that those things aren't going to happen very often, so we have to just hope that they can run the football, take away the pass rush a little bit, because that's really all that Los Angeles has defensively, because they have holes in the secondary and they have holes at the second level at the linebacker position as well. So I think that that's really where you have to attack. You have to be able to run this football against the Chargers. You have to be able to move it. But overall, I think that it's going to come down to Dak Prescott and this passing attack finding ways to be a little bit more explosive overall and try to find it. Because as bad as the San Francisco 49ers loss was, I think that there is a long way to go in this season. Obviously, there are 12 more football games to go. A lot can happen in that time. I don't think that they are a Super Bowl contender. I think that they could be an NFC Championship contender, but that's mostly just because I don't think Philly has been necessarily strong. The problem is the difference between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys right now is that the Eagles have that defensive line that they can lean on, that they can consistently get pressure from at all 4 or 5 defensive line spots, no matter what. That team, even when things aren't going well, the spine of their defense has a lot of problems. The linebackers, the safeties on that football team, middle of the field is primed to attack against the Philadelphia Eagles. But like even when their passing game isn't going well, they can run it for 250 and average 6-7 yards a carry. When they can't run it particularly well, A.J. Brown can take over a game. Devontae Smith can take over a game. Dallas Goedert can take over a game. Their offensive schematics are fantastic. The tush push is almost unstoppable. They have ways that even when an area of this team or multiple areas of that team are not performing well, they can still go out and win games ugly. The Dallas Cowboys problem, and it's been a problem for 2 years now, is they're either up by multiple scores or they're down by multiple scores, and there's no freaking in between. That's it. They're either blowing a team out or they're getting blown out. And that's part of being battle tested. And I think if I'm going to have a second hot or not take for this week, it is that I'm okay, and I actually prefer players have podcasts or live stream. I think more access to players and their feelings and thoughts on the game and life is a good thing. I think self-marketing is very important, especially to this new generation of player. Obviously, the Kelceys do it the best, but the access to Micah Parsons is unbelievable. The problem with things like live streaming and podcasts is that you can talk enough or talk long enough to the point where you start to say stuff that is going to get you put up on a bulletin board somewhere or everywhere. You're going to say stupid things. Take it from somebody who has, in the past, live streamed like 8 hours a day, sometimes, podcasted for the past half decade or more. Talk enough, write enough, you're going to say something stupid. You're going to get the masses coming after you. And if you can handle that, that's okay. The problem is, especially with the Dallas Cowboys and when they are not having success, is no matter how good you are, Micah Parsons, and you are one of the best players in the NFL, if not the best defensive player in the NFL, the fans will turn on you if you continue to talk. And you got to be okay with that. If you're okay with that and you want your voice to be heard, whether people like it or not, more power to you. But Micah Parsons has put his foot in his mouth a couple of times, either on Twitter, on a live stream, on a podcast. He gets his name out there. And when you talk enough, when you are chronically online like he is, eventually you're going to say something that people hate. What I would suggest, take it easy a little bit in season. Talk as much as you want out of the season. Do a podcast during the week. But really think about what you're saying when you are on these live streams and podcasts, because you are far too talented and you love the game of football. And you can see that. Micah Parsons absolutely hates not being on the football field. When he is on the sideline, he looks like the most miserable person in the world. He loves football. And I love that about Micah Parsons. But no matter how much you love football, no matter how good on the field you are, talk enough, perform poorly enough as a team, and it will eventually fall on you. Now, I got to get into the game predictions for this Chargers matchup. At the end of the day, the Dallas Cowboys are who the Dallas Cowboys are. They will have their highs. They will have their lows. And at the end of the day, the Los Angeles Chargers are the Los Angeles Chargers. They will find a way to lose this football game. It will be them with a lead late. It will be the Cowboys taking the lead. It might even be the Chargers taking the lead back. But the Chargers will find a way to lose this football game. The Dallas Cowboys will get back on track. They will win the revenge game. They will win the Kellen Moore revenge game. I'm going to say it is going to be 27-24. Cowboys win the game. And shout out to the PF MVP of the season so far, in my opinion, Brandon Aubrey. I am not a kicker guy. I am not a specialist guy. I like punters. I love the return game. I hate kickers. Brandon Aubrey, you deserve your flowers for how good you have been so far this year. For Dalton Miller, not Jess, today, thank you so much for joining me, and we will be back for more next week.